Yes, a very good morning to all. Uh, Locomotion and Movement chapter, chapter number 20. Its two parts are there. First part was muscle physiology. We have completed that. The second part is about endoskeleton. So let's talk about the skeleton, the skeletal system in human. The human endoskeleton is mainly made up of bones and cartilages. Two types of tissues, spatial connective tissues are there. One of them bones, another one cartilages. They constitute our endoskeleton. In a mature body, an adult human body, the endoskeleton is made up of 206 bones. An adult human body, it has 206 bones in it. These bones are divided into two categories. If you look at the two categories over here, one of them, that is the axial skeleton, and another one is appendicular skeleton. Nearly 80 bones constitute the one section of our endoskeleton, that is the axial skeleton, and 126 bones constitute our appendicular skeleton, the second section of our skeleton, that is appendicular skeleton. Together makes 206 bones as the endoskeleton bones in an adult human body. Another thing, those bones or the part of endoskeleton which is in the central axis of the body, the one which is in the central axis of the body, those bones constitute axial skeleton. Excuse me. And second part is rest of the bones, other than the central axis, they constitute what is called as appendicular skeleton, mainly associated with the appendages, laterally arranged components of skeleton. The central axis of the body, in which parts of skeleton constitute axial skeleton, the parts of our endoskeleton associated with appendages, the laterally placed components of the endoskeleton, they constitute appendicular skeleton. Oh no, not this one. Yeah, how many bones are present in an adult human body? (206), correct, Rudra Janil. How many bones in an axial skeleton? Gala Misha, correct. 80. How many bones constitute appendicular skeleton? Archie, correct. Rudra, correct. 126. Now, these bones which are present in the central axis of the body, they constitute what is termed as axial skeleton, in which the following components are to be included. There is a skull, then there is a bone in the rib cage which is called as sternum, the ribs, and the vertebral column. There are four components that are included in the axial skeleton, which includes skull with 29 bones, sternum, which is a single bone, ribs are 40, ribs are 24, and then comes 26 bones belonging to vertebral column. The total comes to 80, 80. So 80 bones constituting this axial skeleton. The components that are present in the central axis of the body. These components include skull, which is made up of 29 bones, vertebral column, which is made up of 26 bones, ribs, which are 24 in number, and the sternum, which is a single bone. We'll go through each one of these component of axial skeleton. We're going to start with the first in that sequence, skull. The human skull. Actually, it is made up of 29 bones. In book, you will read there are 22 bones in the skull. 20. Why in one information 22 and in another one 29? That difference I will explain to you. Just understand the basics first. Skull is a part of skeletal system, endoskeleton system in a head region. This much is our head. So our endoskeleton in our head region is known as skull. This skull includes four subcomponents. Number one, cranium. Number two, face, that is made up of facial bones. Then ear ossicles and hyoid bone. There are 8 cranial bones, there are 14 facial bones, there are 6 ear ossicles, and there is 1 hyoid bone. If you see, the description in textbook includes only these 2. So that's why the number they are writing is 22. But 7 more bones are also there in the head region associated with skull. So ideally speaking, the number shall be 29. The question is what you have to remember. So if it is written in textbook that skull is made up of 22 bones, you remember that. But for your understanding, you must know, otherwise calculation will not fit. How will you make 80 bones in an axial skeleton if skull is having only 22? Possible नहीं है. बोलिए श्रेया.
सर तो एग्जाम में पूछेंगे तो हम लोग 22 लिखेंगे या 29?
मैंने क्या बोला आप लोगों को? मैंने क्या बोला आप लोगों को? Isn't it? That is my line actually. You are not listening carefully. मैंने यही बोला कि finally the version which we will accept is the textbook version, that is 22. Although for understanding we will remember 29, otherwise exam point of view it will always be 22. चलिए आगे जाते हैं. So let's get the profile of these skull bones. 8 bones in cranium, 14 bones constituting our face, 6 bones as ear ossicles, those which are related with the middle ear. Malleus incus, you must have heard about that. And last is the hyoid bone at the base of the tongue. So these are the bones included in the skull. Let me give you the profile of first one. That is the cranium. Well, if you see this part of the skull which is protecting the brain, this brain box or the part of the skull that is protecting the brain is known as cranium. Cranium is made up of 8 bones. Cranium is made up of 8 bones, in which one frontal, one of the category is frontal, another category is parietal, another category is temporal, and then occipital, sphenoid, and ethmoid. These bones are bones related with cranium. फिर से मैं रिपीट कर देता हूं. फ्रंटल, parietal, temporal, occipital, sphenoid, and ethmoid. These bones are the bones of cranium. Out of these ones, parietal, there are two parietals, right parietal and left parietal. Okay. And then there are two temporals, right temporal and left temporal. बाकी के जो है वो सिंगल सिंगल बोन है. बाकी के जो बोन्स है वो सिंगल अनपेयर्ड है. So there is a pair of frontal, अरे this my mistake, parietals, and there is a pair of temporals. टोटल नंबर कितना होगा इन बोन्स का फिर? These two are paired and remaining ones are unpaired. So total number of bones included will be how many? To the correct 8. Pair of parietals and pair of temporals total 4 हुए. And single frontal, single occipital, single sphenoid and single ethmoid will make it how much? The 8 bones. Is this concept clear? Total number of cranial bones is what? 8. Correct. Jugal and others. Which cranial bones are paired ones? Exactly, Rudra and Zanil. Parietal and temporal are paired one, pair of parietal, pair of temporal. And which 4 others are unpaired? Yes, Zanil, Saurabh. frontal, occipital, sphenoid, ethmoid, isn't it? That is the sequence of those four unpaired bones. These eight bones together, being a part of skull, they protect dash organ, brain, jugal and gallop, correct. That's a very good reply from all of you, those who are participating. Now, other than this cranial bones, which protect the brain, forming brain box, the other part of the skull, if you see, that is constituting our face. Our face is constituted over here. Look at the bones which are included in the list of facial bones. First of all, facial bones, they are 14. Altogether, they are 14. This includes pair of nasal bones, pair of nasal bones, then the pair of maxillae, pair of maxillae, then palatines, pair of palatines, then there is a pair of zygomatic bones, pair of zygomatic bones. Then there is a pair of lacrimals, pair of lacrimals. And there is a pair of inferior conchae, inferior nasal conchae. These all are paired ones. As far as two others are concerned, one is mandible and another one is vomer. So first of all, type wise, if I ask you, there are 8 different types of bones, 8 different types of bones, of which 6 are paired. So 6 twos are 12 and 2 are unpaired. 12 plus 2 will make 14. So total number of bones which constitute our face are 14, of which 2 are unpaired, vomer and mandible. Remaining 6 are paired, pair of nasals, pair of maxillae, pair of palatines, pair of zygomatics, pair of lacrimal and pair of INC. Inferior nasal conchae. Out of this list, if you look at the things carefully, some of them are not visible easily in this setup. This includes inferior nasal conchae, this includes the palatines, and this includes the vomer. These bones are not visible, at least in an external view of your skull. आपका जो skull का ये external view है, उसमें apparent नहीं होते हैं. स्कल का इंटरनल व्यू अगर मिले, सेक्शनल व्यू या उसको ब्रेक ओपन करके अंदर का पार्ट मिले देखने को, तो तब जाके ये आईएनसी, पैलेटाइन्स एंड वोमर विल बी विजिबल. बोलिए, क्लियर हुआ कंसेप्ट? फाइन. Facial bones, another components of the skull. Total number of bones 14. Total types of bones 8. 2 are unpaired. Vomer is single. Mandible, the lower jaw bone, it's a single one. Remaining ones are paired. Each paired one are following nasals, maxillae, palatines, zygomatics, lacrimals, INC, inferior nasal conchae. Out of these 8 types of 14 bones, the facial bones, Which ones are not visible from the external view of skull? INC, palatines, and vomer. How many bones constitute the face? Zanil and Galav and others correct. 14. Of which are unpaired one? Jugal and Zanil. Vomer mandible is a correct answer. Vomer and mandible is a correct answer. Give the list of paired ones. दो दो के नेम्स लिखना स्टार्ट करो. सब साथ में तो नहीं लिख पाओगे. Nasal maxilla is correct. Jugal. Fatima, correct. Saurabh, correct. Palatines and INC, that is correct one. And Jugal again, lacrimals, and one is left if somebody comes out with that. Zygomatics, yes, Gala has written all of them. What's the full form of INC? Come on, stay muted, all of you. Inferior nasal conchae. INC full form, inferior nasal conchae. Okay. So, my question to you is, which three bones are not visible from external view of skull? Vomer, INC, and palatine. Absolutely correct. Very nice reply. Good reply. We go to the next part. There is a single bone at the base of buccal cavity, you know, the one to which tongue remains attached, that is a hyoid bone. This one. This particular bone is called as hyoid bone. The point is that this is at the junction of head and neck region. Is at the junction of head and neck region. So they are not including it in the head, but it's a part of head only. It should be a part of head only. So जब इसको काउंट नहीं करते थे तो फिर वो नंबर स्कल बोन्स का 22 रहता है. अगर इसको इंक्लूड कर दे तो फिर वो नंबर इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. So because they are not including it, it comes to 22. Otherwise reality में the number is 29, and one of the added one is this one, hyoid bone. Another one, ear ossicles. Now I have taught to all of you. You all know it. I have mentioned it in detail that your ear structure I have explained in the chapter number 4, the ear development in vertebrates. That time I mentioned that inside the middle ear cavity there are three bones. They are malleus, incus, and stapes. Malleus, incus, and stapes. These three bones in each side middle ear. Right side middle ear may be three bones, left side may be three. So in a way, in the body they are paired. They are 6 in number. Malleus, incus, stapes on right side, malleus, incus, stapes on left side. So total 6. These 6 bones and these 6 bones, अगर देखो क्रेनियम के 8 एंड फेशियल के 14, तो 22 होगा. So this number will come to 22, and ear ossicle 6 and hyoid bone total comes to 7. They are not including this two in the skull. उनके लिए इतना ही होता है skull. तो अगर इतना रखेंगे तो 22 आएगा, इसको ऐड कर देंगे तो 29 हो जाएगा, जो रियलिटी में होना चाहिए, but not given. So follow the textbook in that case. When exams are there, textbook की लाइन को ही follow करेंगे. चलिए. The smallest bone of the body is stapes, where the longest one is the femur in the thigh region. So ये याद रखना चाहिए आपको, just for the information as a biologist. Now I have completed this topic. If you have any question, you may ask. Anything to ask? Okay, what is the exact location of hyoid bone? Am I audible? What is the exact location? Not below the tongue, at the base of the tongue, the base of the buccal cavity. That is the right. Which bones are known as ear ossicles? Those which are in the middle ear, they are called as ear ossicles. Which are these bones? Name the ear ossicle bones. Malleus, incus, and stapes. Jugal is the one to give the correct answer. And next is Rudra. Correct. That was a profile of this skull. Now, one important point related to skull, and then we will switch over to the next topic. At the base of your skull, particularly lower part of your occipital bone, from the occipital bone, two projections are arising. These two projections, which you can see, are known as occipital condyles. They are known as occipital condyles over there. These are the ones to which our vertebral column will get attached to and get associated with. So इनके साथ occipital condyle के साथ the vertebral column will get joint over there. Okay, so it's a joint position between skull and vertebral column that is framed by these projections of occipital bone called as occipital condyle. Now if you study this thing in detail, you realize that there are two different types of possibilities regarding this skull in the vertebrates. One category where in the skull the occipital bone possesses single condyle. It is known as monocondylic skull. This type of skull where the occipital bone at the posterior end, it has got only one bulb-like projection. We call it as the occipital condyle. That is called as monocondylic skull. It is to be seen in reptiles and aves. On the other hand, mammals and amphibia, their skull has two condyles from the occipital bone. These are called as dicondylic skulls. These are termed as which one? Dicondylic skulls. So monocondylic skull and dicondylic skull, two different types of skulls. Aves and reptiles में monocondylic. Mammals and amphibia have dicondylic skull over there. और उसके बाद आ जाता है vertebral column. This is the vertebral column जिसके साथ ये स्कल अटैच रहता है. ये ऑसिपिटल बोन है और ये उनका कॉन्डाइल है. एक जगह पे एक कॉन्डाइल और एक जगह पे दो कॉन्डाइल है, मोनोकॉन्डाइलिक एंड डाइकॉन्डाइलिक। चलिए, अरेंजमेंट क्लियर हुआ आपको? Okay, which classes under the vertebrates, under the group vertebrata, which classes have dicondylic skull? The one where occipital bone has two bulb-like projections. Condyle means bulb-like outgrowth. Mammals and amphibia. Yes, Galo, you are right. And which groups are provided with monocondylic skull? Aphia, correct. Eves and reptilia. And subsequently Zanil and Heath. Zanith kya? Zanil and Heath and Fatima. So that was about the profile of the skull. Can you remember which components are included in the axial skeleton? Axial skeleton में skull के अलावा, other than 29 bones of skull, which others together make 80? So other than skull, what else is there? Three things are there. Sternum, yeah, Fatima and Gallo, correct. Henna, Aksa. Second, another thing, yeah, Jugal has given the detail that sternum, ribs, and vertebral column are remaining components. How many bones in vertebral column? Zanil is correct. Hannah is correct. 26 is the correct answer. Next is Saurabh and Misha. Let's talk about the vertebral column. First of all, textbook diagram to give you an idea about what is called as vertebral column. Part of axial skeleton. It's a part of axial skeleton. Okay. Mainly in the neck, thorax, and you can say abdominal region. This up to hip region. This is the vertebral column. It starts just below the head in the neck region. Then it runs down through the thorax, back part of the thorax, and then in the lower lumbar region, and then in the hip region. Up to that, it is extended. This elongated structure is made up of 26 bones, or you may call it as the 33 vertebrae. Its individual units which make it up are known as vertebrae. Individual vertebrum, plural is vertebrae. How many are there over there? 33 vertebrae are present. But when we count as a bone, then you cannot count 33. You have to consider them as bones. At that time, some of the vertebrae are fused with each other, so we do not consider them as the individual bones. So we call it as the 26 bones structure made up of 26 bones over there. In the mid dorsal axis of the body, the part mid dorsal, middle of back, dorsal is our backside. हमारी बॉडी के मिड डॉर्सल पोजीशन में, बॉडी की बैक साइड के मिडल में एक कॉलम जैसा स्ट्रक्चर रन करता है. दैट स्ट्रक्चर इज अ वर्टिब्रल कॉलम. This column is made up of 26 bones, but in detail when you see, these are nothing but individual units as the 33 vertebrae. Okay, let me explain which are these 33 vertebrae. I'll use another pic to make you understand the same. Check out this our vertebral column back side view. कोई जैसे अगर skeleton का पीछे से फोटोग्राफ ले, तो ये हमारा वर्टिब्रल कॉलम दिखेगा उसको. This vertebrae, the units of the uh, vertebral column, they are called as vertebrae. I show you one of the units so you get the idea how do they appear. See, this is how it appears. ये एक vertebrae होता है, एक unit. Okay, एक दूसरा एंगल उसका दिखाता हूँ आपको. गॉड, चेक आउट दिस साइड व्यू है आपका वर्टिब्रे. एक दो ऐसे वर्टिब्रे है. ये टॉप व्यू है उसका, दूसरा वाला सुपीरियर व्यू. ये साइड व्यू, ये सुपीरियर टॉप व्यू. ये यूनिट्स को डिफरेंट डिफरेंट एंगल से आप देख सकते हो, बट बेसिकली दीज आर कॉल्ड एज वर्टिब्रे. नाउ कमिंग बैक टू दैट वन, यही वाले थे वो यूनिट्स जो आपको मैंने अभी दिखाए. ओके, बेसिक आइडिया आ गया क्या होता है वर्टिब्रे. अब बॉडी में तो ऐसे ही होते हैं एज इट इज, बट हमने यहाँ पे कलर पिक्स लिए हैं सो दैट वी गेट द आइडिया अबाउट देम, क्लैरिटी थोड़ा मिले हमें. नंबर वन, ये हमारे वर्टिब्रे होते हैं विद इन द वर्टिब्रल कॉलम अप टू नेक रीजन. हमारा जो नेक होता है, हेड से लेके थोरैक्स के बीच का पोर्शन. देयर आर 7 सच वर्टिब्रे इन इट. देन next is in the thorax region. Thorax ends where diaphragm ends in internally in the body. You understand, na? The cavity divided into thorax and abdomen. Upper cavity in which lungs and heart are present is called thorax, and lower in which the alimentary canal components, the stomach and liver and pancreas and urinary bladder from the other part, kidneys from the other part, they all will be found in abdomen. So up to the end of the thoracic region, you can see 12 vertebrae are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that is about the 12 thoracic vertebrae. Then our back side, કમરનો નીચેનો ભાગ, the back side of our body. For abdomen का जो पीछे का पार्ट है वो वाला, उसको lumbar region कहते हैं. How many vertebrae are found in the lumbar region? Can you count? Exactly, there are 5. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae. Okay, then comes sacrum. Then comes sacrum. There are 5 vertebrae in the sacrum, but as a structure it is just a one bone. As a bone it is one. यहाँ पे 5 bones है, each vertebra is a bone. यहाँ पे 12 bones है, each vertebra is a bone. यहाँ पे 7 vertebrae, each one is a bone. So cervical 7 vertebrae, each one is separate, so each one is a bone. Thoracic 12 vertebrae, each one is separatable. You can separable. Each one is, you can remove out as an individual vertebra. So there are 12 bones. Then lumbar region, 5 vertebrae, each one is separate, that is making 5 bones. Sacral region, 5 vertebrae, but together fused with each other. So that means as a bone, when you take out, only one structure will come out. So bone wise, they are only one. अब आपको समझ में आया होगा. और फिर एक स्ट्रक्चर है जिसको कहते हैं कॉसिक्स. Coccyx is a single structure. Again, it is fused and made up of four vertebrae. Made up of four vertebrae, making only one structure that is called as coccyx. आप vertebrae साइड पे काउंट करोगे तो 12 plus 7 19 plus 5 24 plus 5 29 plus 4 33 का नंबर आएगा आपका इस साइड पे, टोटल बोन्स अगर कंसिडर किए जाते हैं. एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड अगर वर्टिब्रे कंसिडर किए जाते हैं, माय मिस्टेक. एंड अगर बोन्स कंसिडर करते हैं तो 12 plus 7 19 plus 5 24 and then 2 more will make it 26. This is how there are 26 bones in the vertebral column and there are 33 vertebrae in it. Got it? How many vertebrae are present in the neck region and what is the name of those vertebrae? Excellent, Jugal. And Hina also, right? Very good, Hina. 7 cervical vertebrae. In the back side of thorax, how many vertebrae and which vertebrae? Yes, 12 and thoracic, Zanil, Archie, Jagala, etc. Correct. In the back side of abdomen, which vertebrae, how many vertebrae? 5 lumbar. Two single individual structures in the hip region, backside lower end of the back. What are the names of those structures? Individual one structures are there. First comes sacrum and next comes coccyx. Coccyx is a tailbone. उसको tailbone भी कहते हैं. How many vertebrae constitute sacrum? Jugal right, 5. Hauser right, 5. Aksa right, 5. And how many bone or vertebrae, my mistake, constitute the coccyx bone? Coccyx bone, Aksa correct. 4 is the correct answer. Mutahir is also correct. 4 is the correct answer. If somebody asks you how many bones present in the vertebral column of an adult human, तो आपका आंसर क्या रहेगा? Zanil is correct, 26. Aksa correct, 26. But if somebody asks you that the vertebral column of an adult human is made up of how many vertebrae? Jugal right, 33 लिखना पड़ेगा ना? Exactly. अच्छा, अगर सर्वाइकल के लिए अगर C, कैपिटल C अगर सिंबल होता है, जस्ट थोरासिक के लिए कैपिटल D, तो सबका इनिशियल कैपिटल लिखते हैं, तो एक एडल्ट का वर्टिब्रल कॉलम का फॉर्मूला क्या बन सकता है? आप लिख सकते हो नंबर कैपिटल इनिशियल एंड द नंबर ऑफ द बोन्स इन इट. तो कितना लिख सकते हो आप? 5 का कैपिटल इनिशियल और उसका हर एक के कैपिटल के बाद उसका नंबर ऐसा लिखते जाए तो C7 T12 Zanil and Jugal are the one. Absolutely right. अगर bone wise 22 अगर वर्कआउट करना है तो लिख सकते हैं C7 T12 L5 S1 C1 ऐसे लिखते हैं. Yes, you guys are very smart. C7 T12 L5 S1 C1 as the formula of the vertebral column in case of an adult human. और ये वाला फॉर्मूला किस में दिखता है पता है? ये एडल्ट में दिखता है, एडल्ट ह्यूमन में दिखता है. ये वाला किस में दिखता है फिर? C7 T12 L5 S5 C4 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and yes, Zanil is right, Gallagher is right. C4, coccyx 4. In newborn and babies, there this sacrum region has 5 distinct vertebrae. बाद में वो फ्यूज होके 1 हो जाती है, तो फिर वो S1 लिखना पड़ता है एडल्ट में. टेल में भी 4 coccygeal vertebrae in the baby which fuse to form a one structure by the time of adulthood, तो फिर वहां पे C1 लिखना पड़ता है. I hope you have understood the same. Have you all understood? Give me a sec. 1 sec, please. Are you all able to see the different views of vertebrum, individual vertebrum? Can you make out? वो जो 33 vertebrae है ना, yeah. So each one looks like this more or less. अब ये उसके different angles हैं. आप अगर उसको understand करो, तो ये उनके different angles हैं. Now one thing you can see that in all of them, this structure, ये जो साइड में से दिखता है ना, एक सिलेंडर जैसा स्ट्रक्चर हर एक वर्टिब्रे में होता है, ये उसका टॉप व्यू है. तो दिस स्ट्रक्चर इज कॉल्ड एज सेंट्रम. एक रॉड लाइक स्ट्रक्चर जो होता है, सिलिंड्रिकल स्ट्रक्चर जो होता है पूरी वर्टिब्रम में, इंडिविजुअल वर्टिब्रम में, यहाँ पे दिखेगा आपको, यहाँ पे दिखेगा. उसके डिफरेंट एंगल से आप उसको देख सकते हो. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज सेंट्रम. ओके. फिर उसमें से एक प्रोजेक्शन निकलता है जिसको स्पाइन कहते हैं. ये वाला है जो उसको स्पाइन कहते हैं, उसको स्पाइन कहते हैं. उसमें से एक प्रोजेक्शन निकलता है. ऑल्सो प्रोसेसेस अराइज फ्रॉम इट लाइक द विंग्स. विंग्स जैसे उसमें से प्रोसेस भी अराइज होते हैं. तो आई जस्ट वांटेड यू टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस एस्पेक्ट्स. एंड वन मोर थिंग, if you see them carefully, in each case you can see that there is a cavity. There is a cavity while this structure is framed, the individual vertebrum, it makes a cavity in itself. ये cavity है. And here you can make out that when they are aligning with each other in arrangement, their cavities are running parallel to each other. यहाँ पे cavities parallelly run करती, हर एक 33 की ऐसी cavities एक दूसरे के साथ alignment में आ जाती है. And a continuous tube-like structure they form is called as neural canal. देखिए यहाँ पे थोड़ा आइडिया आपको मिलेगा. एक के ऊपर एक, एक ये दो ये तीन वर्टिब्रे रखिए, उनका स्टर्नम टू स्टर्नम अटैचमेंट है, और ये उनके न्यूरल स्पाइन्स हैं, और ये उनके प्रोसेसेस दिखते हैं आपको. And can you see that their cavities parallelly running, I mean aligned over each other, they together make a cavity in which, can you see this spinal cord is running through that. That canal is called neural canal, and it is meant for protection of spinal cord. It is meant for protection of spinal cord. Always remember, जब ये अरेंज होते हैं ओवर वन अनदर, सो ये जैसे ये उनका देखो, typically these are which parts? What you call this core parts of it? Centrum. ये spines है, ये centrum में से spines है. And when all of them arrange in the sequence one over the above, the cavity which they create internally is the one through which the spinal cord is gonna run through that cavity. That cavity is called as neural canal, and what is passing through that neural canal is a spinal cord. It's called spinal cord over there. That is a one part of it. One of the function of this vertebral column is to protect the spinal cord. सेकंड, इसके ऊपर हेड आएगा, हेड का वो स्कल पार्ट आएगा. Which bone of skull shall articulate with the vertebral column? वर्टिब्रल कॉलम के साथ कौन सा वाला बोन स्कल का आर्टिकुलेट करेगा? मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया था, उसके बल्ब लाइक प्रोजेक्शन के साथ वो आर्टिकुलेट होगा वहां पे. कौन सा वाला? Yes, jugal and rudra, correct. Occipital bone with its occipital condyles. बोन का नेम ऑसिपिटल बोन, उसके दो प्रोजेक्शंस को कहते हैं ऑसिपिटल कॉन्डाइल्स, और वो यहाँ पे आर्टिकुलेट करेंगे. सो our vertebral column supports our head also. It supports our head. फिर ये आपको एक दूसरा व्यू दिखाता हूं मैं आपको वर्टिब्रल कॉलम का, एक बैक साइड से, where you can see that give me a second. Look at this view. ये हमारा वर्टिब्रल कॉलम है, मिडल ऑफ बैक साइड पे रन कर रहा है, अगर आपको दिखे तो. एंड अगर आप केयरफुली ऑब्जर्व करते हो इसको, तो आप देख सकते हो अवर रिब्स, हमारे जो रिब्स होते हैं, ये रिब्स है हमारे. These ribs are articulated with our vertebral column. They are articulated with our vertebral column. So another function of vertebral column, that is to provide attachment site to ribs, providing attachment sites for ribs. Ribs को points of attachment मिलते हैं यहाँ पे. रिब्स यहां से अटैच होके अराइज होते हैं, like this. And not only that, but lot of muscles which are there on our back side. मैंने कल ही एक्चुअली बोला था, वो रेड मसल का प्रोफाइल जब दिया था एंड व्हाइट मसल, उसी टाइम पे बोला था कि lot of muscles in our back region, they remain attached on the surface of our vertebral column. So vertebral column provides surface for attachment to the muscles, skeletal muscles particularly, I should say. Skeletal muscles को attachment का surface मिलता है. Last 2 points. Can you make out between the centrum parts of the successively arranged vertebrae back to back, one above the other? Can you make out there between their centrum? There is a pad-like structure. This is that pad-like structure made up of cartilage. Can you make out that? Cartilage का एक pad-like structure है. That is known as intervertebral disc. It is called as intervertebral, between the vertebrae, that is intervertebral discs. A very firm cartilaginous disc, a pad of cartilage between the centra of consecutively arranged vertebrae, that is termed as intervertebral disc. एक और एक एंगल से दिखाते हैं आपको, ये वाला. See, here it will be. ये जो मैंने रेड कलर का लेबलिंग किया है, उसमें क्या होगा वहां पे? Between the centra, what should be present over there? Yes, Rudrajanil Galo, correct. Intervertebral disc. Somebody ask you if what are intervertebral discs? You can say that cartilaginous pads, pad-like structures made up of cartilage between the centra of successively arranged vertebrae are known as intervertebral discs over there. उनका नेम होता है intervertebral discs. ऐसा. They actually absorb the mechanical shocks over there. वो mechanical shocks absorb करने के लिए होते हैं. The last information about the vertebral column, जो हमारा नंबर वाइज इसका नंबर 1 है, इसका नंबर 2 है. ओके, तो हमारा जो C1 and C2 है, C1 is the first vertebrum of vertebral column. C2 is the second vertebrum of vertebral column. I hope you understand what I am saying. तो उसमें जो फर्स्ट वाला है, फर्स्ट वर्टिब्रम, और ये सेकंड, फर्स्ट वाले को एटलास वर्ड दिया है, और सेकंड वाले को एक्सिस वर्ड दिया है. इसके ऊपर ना वो स्कल फीट होगा, उसके 2 कॉन्डाइल्स से. आप देखो, ये ऊपर वाला है वो स्कल है, और उसके नीचे जो फर्स्ट बोन कनेक्ट होगा वर्टिब्रल कॉलम का, दैट इज द फर्स्ट वर्टिब्रम C1 नेम्ड एज एटलास. क्योंकि एटलास इसलिए कहते हैं कि ग्रीक गॉड एटलास का मीनिंग होता है, उस नेम का मीनिंग होता है ग्रीक गॉड जिसने ग्लोब को, अर्थ को अपने ऊपर होल्ड करके रखा है। कभी आप एटलास साइकिल का लोगो देखेंगे ना, तो एक पर्सन दिखेगा जो अर्थ के ग्लोब को उठा के रखा है उसने, तो उस ग्रीक गॉड का नेम होता है एटलास। तो वैसे हमारा वर्टिब्रल कॉलम का ये जो फर्स्ट वर्टिब्रम होता है उसके ऊपर स्कल को रखा हुआ है, तो इट लुक्स एज इफ इट इज लाइक एन एटलास, उसको एटलास नेम दिया है। और जो सेकंड वर्टिब्रे है एक्चुअली उसके ऊपर हेड मूव करता है, तो एटलास और हेड एक साथ में एज अ वन यूनिट इस सेकंड वर्टिब्रम के ऊपर रोल ओवर करते, रोटेट करते। हम जो अपना हेड को यस नो या साइड राइट एंड लेफ्ट में मूवमेंट करा सकते हैं ना, दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ दिस सेकंड वन। तो इसलिए it looks as if it is the axis on which the head and first one atlas are moving. We call it as the second vertebrum called as axis. First vertebrum called atlas and second one is called as an axis. Well, there are four functions of vertebral column, primary functions. This includes first one. What is that first primary function? Rudra?
Sir, it supports the head.
Correct. Second? Who will unmute and speak?
Sir, can I?
Yeah.
Providing attachment to providing attachment to sides of ribs.
Okay. Point of attachment for the ribs. Correct. Third कौन बोलेगा?
Sir, can I?
Yeah.
To protect the spinal cord.
Correct. For the protection of spinal cord. And last one?
Sir, can I?
Yeah.
Sir, it will also provide a site of attachment to the skeletal muscles.
Yeah. Muscles in the back region, their attachment site is been offered by it. Okay. Surface on which they will attach. So that was the profile of its function. What's the name of the first vertebrum in the vertebral column? The C1. Jugal, correct. Archie, correct. Atlas is the name. And what about the C2, the second vertebrum of the vertebral column is known as what? Henna is correct. Himanshi is correct. Axis is the name of the same. Between the centrums of the two back-to-back arranged vertebrae, what is present over there? The pad-like structure is called intervertebral disc. Zanil correct, Jugal correct. And what they are made up of? Which tissue they are made up of? Zanil right. Cartilage, Rudra, Henna correct. Well, then comes a bone. A single bone. I hope no one is having any question regarding the vertebral column. I have completed. बोलिए.
સર આપણે કોઈક વાર આપણે એક્સરસાઇઝ કરતા હોય તો આપણને બેક પાર્ટમાં દુખતું હોય તે સેક્રમ હોય કે કોસિક્સ હોય?
કોસિક્સ તો બહુ લોઅર પાર્ટમાં હોય છે અને હિપ ને થોડું પેરેલલ જે હોય એ સેક્રમ હોય, એટલે થોડું બેક જે છે ને મેઇનલી લંબર પાર્ટમાં આપણને દુખાવો વધારે થતો હોય છે.
ઓકે
બોલીએ
સર, થેન્ક
નેક્સ્ટ
યુ.
ક્વેશ્ચન. બોલીએ.
સર કોઈને બેક પેન નો પ્રોબ્લેમ હોય તો ધારો કે કોઈ પડી ગયું હોય તો એવું કે બોલ ક્રેક થઈ ગયા છે, બેકબોન ના બોલ એ
બેકમાં
બોલ
ના
શું
હોય,
હોય?
બેકમાં ના હોય. એ હિપ રીજન અને એમાં જે ફેમર બોન જે છે થાઈનું, એનો અપર પાર્ટમાં એક બોલ લાઈક સ્ટ્રક્ચર છે. એ આપણા નેક્સ્ટ લેક્ચરમાં આવી જશે. So you guys got to wait for some time. It will come, but it's not in a back region, it is in a hip region. Okay, chalo, next question.
Sir, can you again repeat the functions of atlas and axis?
Atlas is the first vertebrum in the vertebral column on which head is arranged. Particularly through the occipital condyles, the head or the skull remains arranged on the vertebral column. So the first vertebrum that is receiving it, it is the atlas. The second one is the axis vertebrum, the C2, the cervical vertebrae number 2, on which atlas and the head together, they will roll over partially. So we call it as an axis. Axis जिसके ऊपर वो roll over हो रहे हैं, तो उसको axis vertebrum बोलते हैं. Second one को बोलिए, clear?
Yes, sir.
Then comes the bone which is in the chest region. हमारा front side से अगर आप देखो तो chest में ये bone होता है, and this bone is called as sternum. This is the bone which is called as sternum. Exactly इसके पीछे heart होता है यहाँ पे, in this region. So अगर heart का सर्जरी करना होता है तो इसको कट करते हैं मिडल में से और ओपन करते हैं thoracic cavity को. So basically the chest bone or breast bone इसको कहते हैं, is a small it's a rather long and flat bone. थोड़ा सा long और flat bone होता है, बॉडी की वेंट्रल साइड पे होता है. हमारी बैक डॉर्सल साइड है, ये चेस्ट का रीजन वेंट्रल साइड है, उसमें मिडल में है और थोरैसिक रीजन तक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड रहता है. So mid-ventrally in the thorax, the sternum is located as a single bone, a flattened bone over there. And comes the next, that is ribs. Next is what? Ribs over there. There are 12 pairs of bones, flat elongated bones, all articulated to the vertebral column on a dorsal side, and majority of them articulated to the sternum on a ventral side. These bones are known as ribs. These bones are known as ribs. देखिए ये बैक साइड है इनका, तो ये हमारा vertebral column है. As you can see, all of them, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12, all 12 on one side and the other side, that is 12 into 2, 24, or 12 pairs. First pair, second pair, third pair, fourth pair, fifth pair, sixth pair, seventh pair, eighth pair, ninth pair, 10th pair, 11th pair, and 12th pair. All these 12 pairs, 24 of them, are articulated to the vertebral column on a dorsal side. Dorsal side पे इनका articulation होता है vertebral columns से. ये जो मैंने आपको दिखाया था, बोलिए क्लियर है ये कंसेप्ट? They are articulated to the vertebral column. अच्छा, vertebral column में जहाँ पे वो अटैच होते हैं ना, वो पार्ट में अगर आपको दिखा सकता हूँ तो I'll just try and show you that part. यहाँ पे साइड में अटैच होते हैं, यहाँ एक इधर और दूसरा उस साइड पे. So they're attached to the vertebral column. All 12 pairs are attached to the vertebral column on the back side of the body. बोलिए, किसी ने रेस किया था क्वेश्चन के लिए? Who was that? Somebody raised the hand to ask a question. So who's that? कौन हो? भव्य या भव्य जो भी है. No question. Fine. Go to the next one. Can you make out that these are originating from the side, coming to the front side? दिखता है ऐसा? पीछे से
Sir, your
arise
voice is
होके.
cracking.
Am I audible or not? Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
audible.
Audible.
So I am explaining that the back side, the front side, as you can see, all of you can see that there is a sternum. ये sternum है. Okay? पीछे क्या है? Vertebral column है. And if you see carefully, यहाँ पे दिखेगा कि back side पे vertebral column से attached है और front side पे sternum से. So they are curving from back to front, dorsal to ventral. ऐसे कर्व करके देखिए, पीछे से कर्व करके आते हैं ये वर्टिब्रे, फॉरवर्ड आते हैं ऐसा. कैन इमेजिन दैट और नॉट? 3D व्यू ऑफ रिब केज देख लेना, इंटरनेट पे सर्च करके 3D व्यू ऑफ रिब केज देख लेना, क्लैरिटी मिल जाएगा. So these ribs are originating from the back side and coming and meeting the sternum on the front side. There are 12 pairs of such ribs, out of which the first 7 pairs, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, if you see carefully, this first 7 pairs of ribs, they all are directly attached to the sternum, यहाँ तक, with the help of cartilage. ये हाइलिन कार्टिलेज का मटेरियल होता है. ये जो ब्लू कलर दिखा है ना आपको, ये है हाइलिन कार्टिलेज. इसको हाइलिन कार्टिलेज कहते हैं. So this hyaline cartilage, it is connecting these first 7 pairs of ribs to the sternum directly. These are called as true ribs. These are known as true ribs. बोलिए, clear? These are also called as vertebrosternal ribs. Vertebrosternal ribs. एक एंड पे वर्टिब्रल कॉलम पे अटैच्ड है, बैक साइड पे, फ्रंट साइड पे अटैच्ड टू दी sternum. So these are vertebrosternal ribs. First 7 pairs. Next 3 pairs, 8th pair, 9th pair and 10th pair. These 3 pairs, back side always attached to the vertebral column, but front side में देखो, they are attached not to sternum. They are attached not to sternum. They are attached to the cartilage of 7th one. ये जो 7th का cartilage जो जा रहा है ना वहां पे, ये तीनों उसको अटैच हो जाती है. If you see carefully, So they are called as vertebrochondrial ribs. अब इसको vertebrochondrial ribs क्यों कहते हैं? Back side they have attachment with the vertebral column, but front side they are not attached to sternum, so they cannot be called as vertebrosternal ones, but they are called as vertebrochondrial. Chondra is for cartilage, so आगे आके cartilage से attach होते हैं, not to the sternum. First 7 attached to sternum via cartilage. These 3 are attached to only cartilage of the 7th one. So they are called vertebrochondrial ribs over there. ऐसा कहते हैं. और फिर आते हैं 3 और 2 और last 2 rather. 11th and 12th. मैं आपको एक दूसरा व्यू दिखाता हूं रिब केज का, which will give you an idea. देखिए ये 2 रिब्स, they do not extend up to the ventral surface at all. वो पूरा का पूरा ventral surface तक extend नहीं कर रहे. They are not meeting neither to the sternum nor to the even. They are not meeting the sternum nor the cartilage. दोनों. Can you make out that? ये false ribs 8, 9, 10. ये वाले 1 to 7 are true ribs. But these two which are not extended to the ventral side, they are restricted almost to the dorsal and slightly wide ways. The 11th and 12th pair, they are known as floating ribs. They are known as floating ribs. They are only vertebral ribs. First 7 pairs, dorsally attached to VC and ventrally to sternum, are vertebrosternal ribs. Their attachment with the sternum is because of hyaline cartilage. Next 3 pairs, 8th pair, 9th pair, 10th pair, are called false ribs. They are also called vertebrochondrial ribs because dorsally they are attached to VC, ventrally they are attached to not to sternum, only to the cartilage of the 7th one. They are vertebrochondrial ones. And then comes the last 2 pairs, 11 and 12, known as floating ribs, are also called as the vertebral ribs because they have no connectivity on ventral side, neither to sternum nor to cartilage. That is the profile of these ribs over there. You see the entire rib cage itself is made up of how many bones? ये पूरा rib cage जो बना है, ये कितने bones का बना है? काउंट कर सकते हो? Galo, wrong. Rest of you wrong. I don't know. Madam must have known about this. Sure. Cage का explanation के बिना वो respiration, inhalation, exhalation topic complete नहीं हो सकता है. So when she must have explained this thing, and today also when I explained the same, you realize one fact that which components are included in the rib cage. First of all, rib cage जिसको हम कहते हैं उसमें कौन से components आ जाने चाहिए? तो एक तो ribs आ जाते हैं, फिर ventral side पे क्या आता है? Sternum आता है, और dorsal side पे क्या आते हैं? thoracic vertebrae of the vertebral column. Rib cage is restricted in thorax only. thoracic vertebrae देखो तो वो वाली कितनी है 12 है, स्टर्नम कितना है 1 है, और रिब्स कितने हैं 24 है. टोटल नंबर क्या होना चाहिए 37 होना चाहिए. How many of you are not clear if I say that your rib cage is made up of 37 bones? Not clear वाले raise hand करें. Those who have not understood that it is made up of 37 bones should raise their hand. So you all understand and accept that there are 37 bones. So which ones in the rib cage included over there? How come the 37 number is achieved in the rib cage? "24 ribs, 12 VC, and 1 sternum." Zanil, very good reply. Zanil Patel. Now, if I ask you which pairs and what is another name of vertebrosternal ribs, vertebrosternal ribs, also identified as what, and which pairs are included in that? Jugal correct, true ribs. Afia correct, true ribs. And how many? First 7 pairs, Jugal correct. Pair number 1, first pair of ribs से लेके 7 pair of ribs. First 7 pairs of ribs are attached to vertebral column on dorsal side and are attached to sternum on ventral side, are known as vertebrosternal ribs. Correct? They remain attached to sternum by which material? The rib remains attached to sternum by which material? Hyaline cartilage. Which ones are known as vertebrochondrial, and what is another name for the same? False ribs and pair number. Which pairs are included in the same? 8th, 9th, and 10th. 8th pair, 9th pair, and 10th pair of ribs are false ribs, also called as vertebrochondrial. Because on a dorsal side, they have attachment with vertebral column. Ventral side, they have attachment with cartilage. Of which pair of rib? वो कौन सी यहाँ 7th rib की cartilage से जाके मिलते हैं वहां. And which ribs are called as vertebral ribs? And what is their another name? Floating ribs, 11th and 12th. Shreya, correct. Rudra, correct. 11th and 12th pair are called as vertebral ribs because they have only one attachment, that too on a dorsal side, and that is with vertebral column, VZ. They have no attachment on the ventral side at all. And last point, ribs are flat bones. They're, if this is the vertebral column, it's one of the vertebra. When they attach over there, the head part of the rib, when it is attaching over there, this point of attachment, if you see, it has 2 projections. It has got 2 projections. So dorsally, having 2 head-like structures or projections to articulate with the vertebral column over there. Vertebrae के साथ articulation के लिए इसके जो 2 heads होते हैं, इसीलिए इसको बाइसेफेलिक रिब कहते हैं. Our ribs are which one? Bicephalic rib. कोई अगर आपको पूछे तो बाइसेफेलिक रिब क्या होता है, तो उसको एक्सप्लेन करने का कि human ribs at the time of articulation with the vertebral column, they use their two head-like projections at that end. ये रिब का वेंट्रल एंड होता है अगर, तो उस रिब का ये डोर्सल एंड होता है. तो जो डोर्सल एंड पे रिब अटैच होता है, आर्टिकुलेट होता है टू द वर्टिब्रल कॉलम, at that end it has got two head-like projections. We call it as a bicephalic rib. The human ribs are bicephalic in nature. So that is the profile of our axial skeleton. I have explained to you the axial skeleton of human. Human का axial skeleton मैंने explain किया. I explained the skull. I also explained the sternum, the ribs, and the vertebral column. The 29 bones of skull, the 26 bones of VC, that's vertebral column, one sternum, and 24 ribs. I have explained this much. Here I conclude the topic of axial skeleton. You can stop.